And there you go, Watson. Jacob Levy, Jack the Ripper.
Fantastic, Holmes. And terrifying. But some aspects of this case are still unclear, at least for me.
For example, Watson?
Why does the man only kill prostitutes?
The man kills prostitutes because he blames them for the misery of his life.
Yes.
He must have frequented them assiduously, and during these nocturnal visits, he contracted syphilis, which he passed on to his spouse, and via her, at least one of his children. He is an angry man in despair following a mistake that cannot be fixed.
Why does he only kill such miserable prostitutes?
He never had the means to afford prostitutes of higher standing than Nichols, Chapman, and the others. At one point in his life, he was forced to steal to make ends meet. This indiscretion cost him dearly. He was imprisoned and exiled from his community. He had frequented low-class prostitutes. Thus, it was they who infected him, and they who must pay.
But why did he remove the organs?
To take vengeance on his own community, which rejected him and had more success than he. He is a man who bore the burden of a sinister reputation, that of a thief and a madman, because of his internment. So he took his vengeance in the most cowardly and horrific manner imaginable. He rubbed his knife on the uterus of a sick prostitute before using it. He passed Edow's kidney off as a veal kidney.
Why did he disfigure the faces of the last two victims?
To represent
Revenge yet
syphilis.
again, Watson. This is what you did to my child. You will suffer the same fate.
And the piece of apron and the message at Goulston Street?
The only reason to have placed the piece of apron incriminating the message and attracting attention towards himself is that the people that Levy holds responsible for his arrest live in this building. The butcher's where he committed the theft is found in Goulston Street, and the majority of the butchers who denounced him surely live close to their workplaces.
But finally, Holmes, why didn't his wife or anyone else notice anything?
His wife has many children and must be very busy. The man is a butcher, which must facilitate things when one is questioned by the police in the street and must justify the bloodstains on oneself. Furthermore, butchers often work during the night as the meat must be sold fresh each morning. His nocturnal absences were easily justifiable. Finally, he works in the butchers or slaughterhouses. Nothing could be more simple than slipping a kidney in here and using a knife soiled with human blood there.
This story is frightful, Holmes.
Indeed, Watson. Lies, infidelity, venereal disease, murder, mutilation, and finally cannibalism. A complete anthology of what humans at their most vile are capable.
Let's go at once to Whitechapel and put this madman where he can do no more harm, Holmes.
Let's, Watson.
That goes well, doesn't it? He was never discovered in real life.
I
No-
do
no one
believe
knows
we
who
are
he
not
was.
alone. I hope these men won't prevent us from passing.
Me? No. But you, yes, Watson. Your journey ends here tonight.
Pardon?
You're sometimes a little hot-headed. And moreover, Mr. Solomonovich has a few things to tell you. I won't be long.
You can come in, Mr. Holmes. He's waiting for you inside. Everything was organized according to your instructions. I don't know how to thank you.
Later. Dr. Watson is awaiting an explanation from you.
What are we doing? I can't read his lips. I assume this is not meant to be audio and it's meant to be super dramatic. Well, this is unnecessary. He's playing out what happened, I'm guessing. Okay, that's him writing the message, yes. But, I mean, basically, this is him saying he's done it, but we know he did it. At least in this game. We know he's Jack the Ripper. So this is just a pointless... Ooh, look, he's playing it all out because he's a bit weird. It's all pointless. Yeah, it's going, oh look, he's mad. That's it.
Hello, Watson.
Holmes, have you the slightest idea what you are doing?
Playing the
I
violin.
think so, Watson.
Leaving this bloodthirsty pervert at liberty and hiding his existence from the London police? What folly!
I agree with Watson.
Certainly, the police will never find their man, but with so many men deployed, this affair will indirectly have a benevolent effect on the crime in the vicinity.
But Holmes, wait! Justice hasn't been served, and we are accomplices to the fact.
Hasn't stopped you before.
Justice? But I don't serve justice, Watson. I serve truth. And incidentally, I serve my country, and I don't think that I have ever served it better than today. Imagine if after months of terror and a murder as abominable as that of Miller's Court, we deliver to the English people a man of the Jewish faith, a journeyman and head of family as the guilty party. A man who forced members of his own people to eat human flesh. All of this contained tension would have exploded in a myriad of anti-Semitic acts which would have thrown Whitechapel into a rage of fire and blood. And this man's family, who are completely innocent and have suffered more than their lot, would have been the first in the line of sight. Should we condemn an entire people to shame and promise them 1,000 wounds because one of their members committed an unmentionable crime? Neither I nor you have the right to do so. Jacob Levy, Jack the Ripper, is now in the hands of his own people. I have complete faith in Mr. Solomovich and the members of his community who, I remind you, courageously helped us. They took great risks and acted with the most salutary discretion. And, oh yes, it is understood that you cannot chronicle this investigation. It would be best to invent a story that takes us far from London during the somber period, in pursuit of, let's see, something challenging. A ghostly dog that glows in the night.
Hand of the
Don't
Baskervilles.
be ridiculous, Holmes. But what will happen now? The police will endure a serious setback and a real loss of credibility. And this man?
Well, a few months after the murders have ceased, the police commission, finding themselves at an impasse, will come up with a story to tell, and everyone will vow that they know the secret identity of the killer without having the right to reveal it. As for Jacob Levy, Jack the Ripper, he will be imprisoned by his own people. He will pace like a lion in its cage until the end of his days, haunted by his crimes and his insatiable vengeance, until finally the disease which drove him to kill those poor women will finish its work and make him its final victim.
The murder of Mary Jane Kelly was Jack the Ripper's last crime. On July 29th, 1891, Jacob Levy died of general paralysis caused by syphilis. In the same year, 1891, the police filed away the case for good, without explanation. For the general public, the mystery remained unsolved. Jack the Ripper's shadow roams forever in Whitechapel's alleys. Okay, so that's why they did that reference. Is it just mysteriously happened to do that? I feel like that, I know, there is the whole point where there have been times where he's not had the person who he knows committed the crime be arrested to commit the crime, for having committed the crime that he did commit. There's a variety of situations where he lets them go, where he lets people go, despite them having killed people. I think one of the ones we saw in Crime and Punishment, which was a real one, which was, I want to say Abbey Grange, but it might not have been. And he lets the people go. He lets the person go who did it, because it was this kind of one-off thing, and he knew it wasn't going to be a regular thing, and he was acting in a way that was actually for the betterment of it's complicated. I can't actually remember. I need to reread them. But this one, it's kind of, you have this madman, and okay, thinking about it, I can kind of understand if you have, I can kind of understand it. Like if you say, oh yeah, it was a Jewish man, then there would be some. But if you say it's a guy who's gone mad because of syphilis, it's gonna dull that, you would think. So the argument of I don't serve justice, I serve truth is applied by Holmes normally when it's a situation where the law says something different to what you would argue is right. And in this case, I don't think it's relevant. So that really bugs me. Some of the puzzles were good. Some of them were completely and utterly bonkers. Like, here is a puzzle box based on the American Civil War. It's like, okay. Is this just in the English version? The English language version? Because, quite frankly, I don't think many people are going to know the battles of the American Civil War outside of the US. Ugh. So that was a bit weird for a puzzle. I didn't like the vice where you had to close the vice and then put the key in. That made not a huge amount of sense. So there were quite a few puzzles where it was just a bit wonky. For things I did like, and this is something they used in Crimes and Punishment, I did like the kind of conclusion board, and like you're piecing things together. I think I didn't see. I mean, I assume they're gonna. That's a similar thing in the recent one, the Devil's Daughter one. And one of many theories of who Jack the Ripper really was. Yeah. This isn't the view, blah, 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 whatever. But I don't know, because the game doesn't work. The audio doesn't work, which I could just try and voice everyone, but I'm not sure how well that would work. So you have those kinds of issues with it. Yeah, so I some of the puzzles were a bit wonky. I did like the kind of general putting the conclusions together, and I think if they just did a game of that, and they didn't really do that even with Crimes and Punishments. There are a few kind of weird, puzzly moments where they made you do things that were a bit. That doesn't make a huge amount of sense. This is just a random puzzle to have a puzzle. And then the story. I like that you're kind of going around Whitechapel and you're seeing different things, and kind of the story is kind of evolving as it goes. I didn't like the conclusion of, here's who it is, but we're not going to actually do anything. I mean, what would happen if, theoretically, he escaped the prison he was put in, and he kills again? That means Holmes is basically aiding and abetting a serial killer. So this isn't it isn't a situation like other ones that you see in the. And Jack the Ripper's meant to have a top hat. There is that's part of why this is a symbol. This is kind of the idea, is because I think a few witnesses said he wore a top hat. So again, you get, I don't know. I mean, it kind of does fit the kind of... I almost kind of I think I would prefer it if Holmes went to the police, or went to someone high up, maybe in the government, who then said, you cannot discuss this with anyone else for the good of the nation. For all these different reasons. And have Holmes be a bit annoyed by that. And I think towards the end in this last session, he's been very kind of acerbic towards Watson in an uncharacteristic way. And I think there were a few points where Holmes wasn't acting in accord with the way he was thinking. So, I think it's just... I think, the game up until the kind of ending was quite good. I'm never a fan of murder mysteries where it's kind of... Like, I mean, okay, I know he was mentioned earlier on, because they showed the little thing where he'd been arrested. Sorry, I'm quite tired. But I didn't like the fact that basically it's just, here is the last guy we introduce. And look, that's who we're saying it was. I'm not a fan of that. Admittedly, I'm not a fan of kind of what Assassin's Creed Unity has done for some of its murder mysteries of, here is a person who's closest to the dead body, and then here's like 2 bits of evidence around the dead body pointing to this person, and you get to the end and, oh, it was that person. You need that. You need a kind of balance of, even if you introduce someone quite early on, you need to have where you need to kind of have evidence kind of pulling you in different directions and having different suggestions of who it could be. Having it be the last person introduced is not something I'm particularly fond of. Right. So yeah, I mean, up until this session, this has been a fairly good game, actually. It's just kind of, I felt a little let down in this position, where it's just like, here is this random person, where the bad guy just shows up at the end. So yes, there we go. Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. I'm probably not going to replace this one and drop down to 4 Let's Plays, just because I'm cognizant of the fact, having started work, that my time is a little less free, because I have to actually do the stuff I'm getting paid to do, and actually turn up. So I'm not going to be able to do as much recording, I don't think. So I just want to have a bit of flexibility that I can do other things with my time. So I'll probably drop down to 4 and not replace this, and we'll just see what happens. If I get into a kind of a good rhythm and good routine where I can do a lot of recording, I might replace this with another thing. I don't know what I'd replace it with. Maybe another puzzle game. I've got a few other Sherlock Holmes games we can do. Or I might just go and do a different puzzle. Or I might not do a puzzle at all. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the next thing I will do in the future will be. I don't know if I'll come back to having 5. Let's see what happens in the future. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching.